Thanks. Today we're going to be talking about. Yes? I'm going to talk about information security governance and risk management in particular the framework. So, as you can see here, the table content I'm going to first cover is framework for SAPSA. You've got SAPSA, DavidLay, TOGAF, COVID, ITIL, ISO. Then we're going to talk about the practical, and then if you can ask any question, you can leave it to the end. Otherwise, you can interrupt me anytime. Okay, moving on. Okay, the learning outcome, I suspect that it will be that you will be able to, at the end, discuss and describe the use of standard in the network security. Why? Because when you go into the workforce, most of the time they will ask you, we have a framework in place, and is it efficient? Is it working? Is it enough? Do we need to integrate with other framework, or do we need to change our framework or something like that? You should be able to provide a evaluation saying, right, this framework doesn't work, use this one, or use COVID, or use SAPSA, etc. So let's focus on the enterprise security layer, but I'm going to talk about the framework, as you can see in my map, because this area has other areas, but I don't care, so I'm going to focus on this framework. Now, I will focus first of all, SAPSA. Everyone's done enterprise security, or you turn up to enterprise security, you will be exposed to SAPSA, and I'll go into detail the next 2 or 3 slides. Then I'll focus about a little bit on DavidLay, an overview. Then TOGAF, COVID, ITIL, the most common one in the IT industry, and COSO followed by ISO. Okay, so first of all, SAPSA, all we all know that little diagram. SAPSA is a security architecture that focuses on risk management and security together. However, because it's very, very complex and it has like tons of weird boxes, so whether or not you know how to read it or use it, then it's up to you. But enterprise, if you've done enterprise security or you're doing it, they should teach you how to use it at least. If they don't, tough luck. Now, how you use it is you have a contextual layer where it says what asset, and when you look at it, you will say in a contextual, you focus on the business. So the business requirement on the top level, followed by the control that you can use in that section, the logical, physical component, and operational. If you are going to use the SAPSA model, then yes, most enterprise will fit in. They work. But do we want to put another framework on top of it, or are we going to leave it as SAPSA? Okay, so that's another question that we're going to focus on later on. Then we got DavidLay, which usually derived to SAPSA. So originally DavidLay went first, but because it's the same layout, same structure, but it's more focused on the goals, process, location, and event. You can see the bottom. I'm not going to go into DavidLay because that's the enterprise security architecture, but it's a framework still. People use it. Okay. More or less, I'm going to TOGAF now. TOGAF is the open group architectural framework, which covers the business data and the linking between every domain together. The next slide will focus on SAPSA and TOGAF integration. Now, why do I say that? Because you can integrate SAPSA and TOGAF together. Why? Better. It looks better because you can have more stuff and a detailed version of your framework for your enterprise based on integrating other framework together. Like this framework, you can also integrate with ITIL if you need it, or you can also exhibit for other framework like ISO standard. But overall, this is a generic integration for Salsa and Toga.
So, what's the point of integrating two different frameworks? If they're both completely independently effective, why integrate two?
You will be able to put more enhancement on different, because for example, if you're saying TOGAF focus on one business area, like business function only, there'll be no security. So you put SAFSA on top of it, so you have security and business function. Or if you want, for example, LED framework, the layered architectural development framework, which then say everything is focused on layered, and you say, right, it doesn't have security. Why don't I put SAFSA on top of it? And then if that mix and match work, you have a better framework at least. Okay, so moving on, making the fun of it. Oh God. Okay. COVID. Now, COVID is a very, very weird framework. Focus on 5 principles. You missed that half. Okay, focus on the 5 principles, which says meeting the stakeholder needs, that's the most important one, for all enterprise. Then you go covering the enterprise end to end, followed by applying a single integrated framework. Now, what is it? Single or integrated, with the comma, integrated. So that means you can say, I want this framework and that framework together. Or I want this independent framework, just to have a simple addition of my enterprise. I don't want to make it complex. Enable a holistic approach, as always, because when you try to make changes, you need to be able to make it easy for you to. And separating governance from management. In order for enterprise to make sure that they can monitor whatever they do, IT governance is very, very important. That's what COVID is going to do in terms of their focus. However, they've also, in the new version of COVID 5, or COVID 5, they specify that they have a 7 enablers that will enable you to make this work. So, they maintain, first of all, maintain high quality information to support business decisions. What does that mean? Is saying, I will make sure that the stakeholders or the people in the upper level understand what the business needs. If there's anything that changes, we should be able to provide a high detail version of it. Okay? Then you've got achieve strategic goals to realize benefits through effective use of IT. Now, that meets with the idea of meeting strategic, meeting IT requirements with strategic needs and stuff like that. So if the IT or if the company wants to move into IT, it traditionally does not go to IT and is moving into IT, your goal is to meet IT needs in terms of the business requirement. So that will cover it. And then you've got operational excellence through reliable, efficient application of technology. Now, application of technology, whether you use tablet or platform or PC, anything, it has to be reliable and efficient, of course. You don't want a downtime of this device and then screw up the whole network. Maintain IT-related risk at the acceptable level, so that means set up SLA if needed. And also optimize the cost of IT services and technology. What that means is that the running cost, the ownership cost, and all the costs required for running the IT infrastructure and service. Support compliance with relevant law, regulation, contractual agreement and policy. That's the last bit. That's what we have to do in the long run. Setting up IT policy, security policy, anything. Okay, so.
Which one's the 7?
The last one.
And 6?
The 6.
6.
7
Oh.
levels.
7 and 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh crap, where's my other one? Oh well. Out of the game. I think. Oh shit, oh well. But this PowerPoint is in Dropbox so you can pick it up and have a look at it later. Okay, so next one I'm going to focus on ITIL. Now, ITIL is a very big topic, it's a very big area. Nevertheless, I'm not going to mention all of them, but by the 15 areas you can see here. There is videos in the Dropbox already, you can have a look at it. I set that up already so you can have a look. So, ITIL is a infrastructure library, of course, mainly used in IT support or somewhere where an environment requires change management and business continuity and etc. So first of all, you have help desk support, service desk support, that's related back to IT help desk. And then you got incident management, problem management, change management, release management, configuration management, SLA, etc. So that every company or every function of the company or enterprise will use different particular area of the frame of the ITIL thing. So know them, it's a good thing. There's videos in the Dropbox, you can have a look at it, they will tell you a detailed article of it. Okay, too bad I can't put videos up here.
I'll put them all up on.
Otherwise I would click and it would play the videos. Okay. However, version 3 came out, and version 3, I have the PDF in the Dropbox also that focused on the area of version 3. This is the current version of version 3, and this map will tell you what they changed from version 2 and version 1. But forget version 1 and version 2, focus on version 3. Now, version 3 say that we must focus on other areas, but I haven't gone into detail about version 3, but it's also in the Dropbox. I don't care much about it. Okay? I want to focus on the fun bit. Best bit is. Okay, COSO. Now, when I did this, I had no idea what COSO is. I spent my hours and hours finding what the hell it is. So, I end up finding that it is a financial based framework that detects fraud or fraud deterrent. So that means if I say banking industry or financial industry will be using this framework, that makes more sense. But as you can see, they do a control environment, a risk assessment, control activity, information, communication, and monitoring activity. There's the principle. I didn't go in depth because I have no idea what it is. There's not much information about it. And unfortunately, this probably costs a lot of money to buy that framework. Okay, so a general overview. That's what it is now. I don't know what it is. Okay, so ISO standard. Now, ISO standard, as you can see, I'm going to focus on the standards. So, ISO standard in this area, in terms of IT governance, IT security governance, and risk management, they are categorized under information technology security technique, information security management, and information security management system. Okay, so we're focused on ISO 17799, then ISO 27001, 27002, 27004, 27005, 27006, and then 27799 and 38500. Now, 38500 is the most important one in all IT governance industry, and that's the most important. I'll focus that later in the slide. Okay. So first of all, ISO standard 17799. Now, this one is a generic version of I'm not sure what year, but it will develop into BS 7799. It was then. So it focused on security policy, system access control, computer operation management, system development and maintenance, physical and environmental security compliance, personnel security, security organization, asset classification control, and BCM. Now, if you're going to ask me what detail aspect of it, I can try to give it to you, but it's from Wikipedia, so So I will, you want us to explain it. So first of all, security policy. Developing a security policy is just a written paper policy. Central access control is more into saying who have the right to access what and what, etc. Computer access. Okay. Computer and operation management is where you get the how do you manage the operation between the computer and the user of stuff. But in terms, I actually deleted the text at the end, so I'm trying to guess what I'm going to say. Okay, in terms of ISO 27001, developed in 2005, there's a draft in 2013 at the moment, which follows the same concept from ISO 17799, but they added extra stuff. So when you look at it, there's extra one bit, but there's not much difference. Why do we always use, because we see that this comes in first and then this, then why do we not use this? But it focuses on information security, but in terms of what the component inside the standard are pretty straightforward. Okay? So let's move on to the next one. ISO 27002. Stated as a code of practice for information security management. Agency developed from the BS 7799, which is ISO 27001 and ISO 17799. Now, it has the same similar structure in terms of thing, but because this is only focused on the code of practice, and if you're going to develop a security policy or a code of practice policy, then this is the best part where you actually follow, or the standard component you should follow. ISO 27004, 2009 edition, focused on the measurement of the IT security. Now, so you got an IT information security measurement overview, who's responsible for it, the measures and the measure development, operation, analyzing, and then how do you improve it if you need it. Okay. This particular standard only focuses on measurement. Only needs to be used for measurement. Measuring what? Information security. Nobody wants to measure. Okay, so ISO 27005. Focus on risk management. Okay, so you have a general concept adapted from ISO 27001. It's designed to satisfy the implementation of the information security, but based upon risk management only. So it doesn't tell you how to do it, but it gives you an idea of how you can develop a risk assessment plan. So yeah, it doesn't specify the analyzing method. So you have to assume, you have to make your own analyzing method, whether it is good one, bad one, whatever. But they say, I'll give you a guideline. I'm not going to tell you how you do it. ISO 27006. Now that one is focused on requirement for body providing audit and certification for all of information security management system. Now, if you develop a infrastructure or IT system, you are required to provide audit and making sure that this is working and there's no flaws, there's no crap loads of things. Then this is the best way to actually follow. So go through this standard and say, right, which one I need and how do we meet the requirement, etc. The next standard I'm going to focus on is health. Now, this is a major issue in the e-health section. If you're going to do e-health, if you're going to be in e-health environment, complying to this ISO 27799, which also uses 27002, but because in Australia we have our Privacy Act 1988, which then developed for privacy, personal information protection, Privacy Protection Act 1998 for New South Wales that provide a idea of health, environment, or health industry privacy laws. So complying ISO standard and laws, the best way. Now, so what they do is try to, if you're in the health industry, you look up to their saying, right, are you compliant to ISO 27002 and 7799? So when you look at that, when you say, then you are evaluating the current framework, the current standard. Does it meet the requirement? If it doesn't, change it, make modification if needed. Otherwise, keep it as is. Can you upgrade it? Can you make it better? Suggest improvement. That's your job. Okay? ISO 2030, now this is the fun bit. Now, ISO 38500 focus on IT governance only. Now, because it's only a 6th principle, responsibility, strategy, acquisition, performance, conformance, and human behavior. Now, this there is a lecture talk from ATS in 2009 that's focused on IT governance in the enterprise environment. I have it in the Dropbox, you can have a look at it later. And this one focused on how standard and enterprise uses this standard to meet their IT framework, at least, trying to become, as you can see, a framework for effective governance of IT. And we're like, yeah, effective. Okay, and then you say, highest level of organization fulfill their legal, regulatory, ethical respect for the use of IT. Now, TAFE will use, I would assume TAFE will use ISO 38500. If they don't, that's the problem. Okay, so there's a video, you can look at it. I'm not going to go in depth for it. Then, the case study. Now, practical case studies make it easier. Everyone been in tech for about more than 3 years. They should know how tech works. Now, I would expect you guys to be able to tell me which framework they use and why they use it and how they use it, or suggest improvement, or do we need to integrate other frameworks, or did they have a specific framework that we don't know? Okay, or any other framework out there. There's tons of frameworks out in the world. People use it, but it depends on how you evaluate it. Put on the discussion form, and this is the reference link. So Dropbox, first of all, and then that you thing. Standard Australia will be able to offer you some standard in Australia, but you can lodge a standard up there, but it costs you money to buy one. Likewise, buying ISO standard, $100 British pound. Can't buy it. So you have a governance for IT video clip down at Dropbox. You can have a look at it later. And any question?
What framework does TAFE use?
Yeah, we're not of the risk analysis process, so how the hell will you?
I'm not focusing on risk management.
So we
This is framework.
if it's a business is gonna use a dog or something, so do you want us to assume, or do you want us to go to the admin and say what like framework you use?
You can do that. You can do that if you
So
want.
they're gonna tell us, yeah?
I don't know.
Of course.
I work for TAFE and I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I wouldn't even know where to look. So if I am in a big organisation, if I'm this pissy little cog, right, in this big organisation, there's a huge bureaucracy, biggest bureaucracy in the Southern Hemisphere in fact. How do I get that sort of information out of deck?
Right.
Probably not.
Right. Okay. That is a big problem in the industry. Yes, you have little people understanding the framework, and you have minority trying to access corporate framework data and stuff like that. So my approach would be talk to the manager, talk to the head, and then if they can't give it to you, escalate higher. Or
They won't know. If I talk about frameworks, they're going to send me down to boat building.
You may not have a name
Or to the builders or something like that. So, I mean, what characteristics should I be looking for to, first of all, find out if there is a framework involved? And secondly, to,
how,
classify.
because by the time, because at the moment we know what business function a enterprise works with, right? The business function.
We see the end product, we don't
Yes,
see
we-
the middle part, so we don't.
We can
can't
assume,
actually-
we can articulate tons of business function out of a environment.
But all those frameworks give you, most of them give you the same end result, so you don't
Yeah.
actually, you can't actually tell the difference between.
You need a
That's the
framework
purpose
that's,
of a framework.
you need a framework that's compliant with that one law that covers the name of, that's the step below the ISO manual.
Because
The recommendation thingy that you have to do from the top authorities.
So do we just make assumptions about this, what framework?
Make it up.
like,
Well, take and decided on management.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did it for that.
Yeah.
they just wing it.
So what should we be looking for? Quite honestly, look, where do we look? I mean, do we need to look at policies and procedures? Is there some sort of end product that we've got?
You could, but
Do
I
they
don't
need to
think,
put stamps somewhere? Because I've been through a 92,000
yeah, there are
orders.
you will be able to find certified little stickers or stamps around different areas, but yes, if you see a sticker or a stamp, then yes, they are compliant to a certain
Yeah.
ISO standard, but if you want a detailed version of the framework, then more or less you have to talk to the person who created this IT environment or the enterprise environment first. So,
Can we
for
do this as-
example, TAFE, you will be talking to the branch manager of the, or you could,
I feel like tape's a really bad example.
Yeah.
why? Bad example? Okay, you give me one. That's right. That's right. See? That's right.
No,
Yeah?
Glenn said something before about meeting a requirement just below the ICM. What was it, the ICM?
I see it.
Thingy. Since TAFE is part of DEC, okay, Department of Education and Communities, right? And DEC is a big government organisation, right? It's actually the biggest part of the government in terms of number of people and things like this. What framework do they, first of all, do they require a framework, right, to meet government requirements and things like that?
They should at least comply to ISO 38500, at least.
Okay.
At a minimum level, because that framework or that standard covers the concept of providing legal fulfillment. Now, if TAFE has a enterprise like this, do you think TAFE needs to comply to legal fulfillment, or do we say, do you use the law?
I would not be surprised.
Just because they
I'll-
need to comply doesn't mean
Yeah,
they
they
are
do.
compliant.
So what we're trying to get at is, how do you know? I mean, these frameworks are actually designed to be visible,
Yes.
right? So are
But
there any
we-
characteristics at at the ground level that we can look at and say, yes, this is it? I mean, can we tell from, say, the policies that we've got to go through? So if I look up the don't look at porn policy, right, are there any characteristics of that? Or any characteristics of, can I look at the frequency at which updates are done, or the way that things are tagged, when they're...
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but most important, people look at sticker but if you're focusing on the ground level and trying to get information out of it, more or less, some policy will tell you some aspect of compliance of whether it's 27001 or 27002, or perhaps so if you look at it, if an environment, like enterprise environment, has a IT or information security management system, then they would have at least complied to ISO 27004 and 27001 at least, because those focus on information security. So if you find out that they have a system that regulates security, then why not? Maybe it has some trace, but it generally will come back to talking to the IT department mainly.
Right. Okay, let's take a different approach.